You're live.
All right, we now have a quorum, so we'll start the meeting. The Pryor Creek Rec Center Board regular meeting, Monday, September 12th, 2022. Item number 1, call to order. Item number 2, approve minutes of the August 1st, 2022 regular meeting. Those have been provided for you, so if you'll take a look at them. If you have any questions or corrections. If not, I will entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion we approve the minutes as presented.
Motion made by Riff,
Second.
second by Lamar. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Item number 3, petitions from the audience, limited to 5 minutes with advance reservation. Did we have any, Mayor?
No.
Okay, seeing none, we'll move to item number 4, discuss possible recommended council action regarding appointment of Walter Olson to Recreation City Board number 3, term ending 8/31/2024. Let's think about this for a minute. Any discussion having Mr. Olson on our board? Would you like to come up and tell us a little bit about you, Walter? Yes, sir, if you approach that way, people online can hear you. We'll put you on the spot, sir.
Not a problem. I've been in Pryor for, gosh, all my life, since I was a second grader. Been here, played sports here, have been involved with baseball boards, been involved with the high school baseball board for a while. So just recently I got back into shape, and I've been now with the rec center for about 4 or 5 years, and so really enjoy it. It's where I go, and so I would enjoy being on the board and making sure that everything goes well for it. So,
All right. Any questions for Mr. Olson? All right, thank you, Walter.
no problem.
I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion made by Lamar, second by Riff. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Approved in this board. You'll now move to council for their vote. Item number 5, discussion and presentation by Thomas Keever of TFK Engineering Incorporated regarding the findings of the HVAC study conducted at Pryor Creek Rec Center. Yes.
So, I'm Tom Skeeter. Back a couple of months a while back, I was retained to do an evaluation of the building to look at some environmental concerns inside the building, specifically to see what we can do to try to alleviate them. And basically, what I hope you have before you is my response to that effort. And there's basically two items on the list. First is list A through F of what I either discovered or determined, and then the next batch, 1 through 5, is recommendations. And I want to explain, this was written with the intention of an explanation to go with it. And I also want to just real briefly add that all of the items that I listed as recommendations, some of them my recommendation is very, very small on, and some of them my recommendation is very big on. So, just to give you a little bit of an explanation of how we looked at it. First, we take the design documents and we look at what was intended with the design. Did the design make sense? Did it work? Was there any glaring things that, wow, why did they do that? Then look at the building, how it was constructed. Does it tend to match what was designed, normal construction practices? Or if it deviates from it, did it deviate in a reasonable manner? And then operationally, how's the place being run? And in simple terms, those 3 things have to align for you to get a building the way you want it to work. So in a real short term, that's basically what I did, was I looked at those 3 things and saw how did they align. And the good news, from my perspective, was that operationally, everything seemed to be consistent there. That might be a little bit of a bad news for the problem that you have, but overall, those things all, in general terms, seem to align. When I was investigating it, something that I saw that kind of stood out to me, my first thought, as soon as I saw it, so I spent a little bit more time evaluating it, still didn't get comfortable with it. So on this particular issue, I wind up actually bringing in an architect that I've worked with before that got high level. I have a very, very high level of confidence in their technical knowledge to come in and look at the issue for me. And that ultimately resulted in what I list as item A up here, which is really the fundamental issue. The fundamental issue in the building overall. You have a pool, you have a big building, part of the building's a pool. Pool is a very harsh environment compared to the rest of the building, so the walls that separate them have to be very, very robust. They can't, like if we have an office space and a classroom next to each other, walls separating them, yeah, you might be worried about noise, things like that, but from my end of the world, the environmental happenings inside the building, that wall doesn't have to have quite that high level of robustness to it. But between the pool and non-pool space, it really has to be there. And what makes it really robust is a very, very well built-in vapor barrier. And that doesn't exist on those walls. And what that means is effectively moisture moves just like heat, just like water. Water flow to the low spot, moisture moves from high moisture to low moisture. It doesn't really matter what you do, it moves that way. And that pool is a whole lot of moisture, and the other spaces, you don't really want them to be that way. And that moisture just moves right through those walls as if they're not there, is effectively what's going on. This very, very quick answer is lots of other things we do can tinker and improve, but those improvements will be marginal. That's the fundamental problem. And that fundamental problem is either that fundamental problem is addressed or it's not in the big scheme of things, meaning we can do other things and improve it, but all the improvements will be on the margin. So that's effectively what item A means. In reality, item A and item E really kind of go together, because what E is simply saying is that whatever we do to the HVAC, we might make some improvements, but we're not going to really make a big difference. The architect didn't give me a detailed explanation of what it would mean to improve the vapor barrier, to make improvement, but her quick response was, the walls on the building are CMU blocks so many feet high, 19 feet high, I'm not sure off the top of my head, and then it's a frame with some plastic panels above it. Roughly, those plastic panels would have to be removed and that wall back there rebuilt and a full continuous vapor barrier put on behind it. That's effectively what you'd have to do, and it would be that west wall and south wall of the pool room. So it would take that level of work to improve it. That's just a real quick definition of what the work would entail. So it'd be pretty intrusive to do that. I do want to go ahead and note that the air conditioning units on the roof, the condensation doesn't drain out of them, and the type of units they are, and with the pool year-round, there's water flowing out of them, but that water's not really completely flowing out of them. It's being retained in the units. That's adding to the problems you have, and that's creating problems for the units to run right, and in reality, it damages the roof because roofs are fine with all of the rain falling on them. Roofs are not fine with water dripping at a very specific point constantly, which is what is happening in some of the places. So that's one that really clearly needs, would benefit you to deal with. That's what item C is. Item D is particular to the aerobic studio. That is one that is a very, very specific equipment situation. That equipment that was used for that room doesn't really kind of align with that room use space. And that room has had a long history of some problems that there might be some other factors as creating the problems in the room other than the unit, but I'm pretty confident that we can overwhelm them if we replace that unit with the right type of unit. I really think that that room is really, really resolvable problem. And then, let's see, E and F basically are just kind of pointing out that you could probably make a few changes here and there, but in reality, they probably wouldn't have a very big of an impact. And so then if I flip over to the recommendations, that's really where I'm specifically saying, one says, if you really want to do something, it's add a vapor barrier, which is a real, real big problem. And I'll go ahead and throw out, the building's not new, may not be worth the cost to do it. I don't know, I didn't do a cost estimate for it, but in simple terms, it's not easy. And it's not a quick fix, so okay, gonna move on down the road. The condensate piping is something that could be quickly done, pretty clean, pretty definable work to do, and I'd recommend doing that. Whether you'd see a difference or not, it will definitely alleviate some maintenance problems that you don't even know will occur. 3 is replace the unit on the aerobic studio, which I pretty strongly recommend on that. 4 and 5 are really a couple of items that, like I said, if they're in there, they could have some effect. The effects would be really small, possibly more hassle than there were, but they could have some effect to it. In reality, 4 and 5 are really items where, given the age of the building, probably equipment over time kind of drifts in its performance and things like that. So, and when I looked at the straight up evaluation, what's happening in the space compared to the units, it looked like there's a little bit of marginal gain to be made there. But the real big issues are the vapor barrier, hands down the big one, then the unit in the aerobic studio, and then the condensate piping. That's the rundown. That's the quick, short explanation.
So the 19 feet above the cinder blocks, from that point above all the way to the top of the roof, vapor barrier to completely seal off the pool from the rest of the building to prevent the moisture from going from that side over across the top and inside the other room.
That's exactly the point. That's right. Okay. That's exactly what we wind up having to do. We might have to repaint that block, maybe with a little bit more moisture resistant. We're not real sure. The architect couldn't tell, but that's the big one, and that's exactly what we'd be attempting to do. In reality, you never stop all moisture from moving, but you dramatically impede it enough that it doesn't affect the other space. It becomes small enough, and that's exactly what.
So is there a potential for a vent to maybe release some of that moisture out of the top,
Exhaust
something
fan?
like an exhaust or some sort?
Okay, if we do that, that's effectively what the pool units are trying to do now. That's the type of equipment in the pool room are exhaust a high volume of air with a real high turnover of the room to keep the airspace negative. And so what those units are effectively trying to do is just that very point, exhaust that air out. It's just that exhausting the air out works, how do I say this? Moisture's carried in the air, but they're not, I don't know how to say this and make it make sense. They're not completely equal in what's happening, meaning even though we're carrying all of that air out, we'd have to be carrying a volume out at fast enough air velocity, fast enough rate to really get there and do that. And if we come over to the next space over and ventilate, so those units in the pool room are kind of trying to do that already, and they're not getting there anyway. So I'm thinking that if we just come over and exhaust more of those next spaces over, we might be able to exhaust it and modify, put some ductwork, put some exhaust in, that kind of then ripples through. What we're effectively then doing is moving that moisture in those spaces purposefully. Not real fond of that idea. And when we start exhausting out there, that means that air that gets exhausted has to come from somewhere, which then messes another room up. So we start kind of chasing that through of an answer. I didn't exhaust that as a design idea. I didn't look through it in detail. I just looked at it quickly enough to say that didn't really seem, well, it started looking, it wasn't a quick answer. That's about the best way I can say that. It wasn't an obvious quick answer that would work. And we're talking about a continual space with the pool. It's not like an attic. Moisture in an attic in a crawl space, there's moisture there and we ventilate to get that moisture out. But in reality, that space down there changes environment over time. Sometimes it's real dry there. So we have that benefit. We don't have that benefit in this situation. In this situation, we have that pool 24 hours a day with, 90% humidity or whatever it is. So that's a tough solution to use. So I didn't exhaust that for that reason.
And obviously, it's way too big of an area for like dehumidifiers.
Okay. Okay, that's an interesting question. If we were designing that building today, and now I will add, in reality, if we were designing it 20 years ago when it was designed, we would have incorporated that into the design. I actually expected to see that in the design, and I didn't see that. And so I will, my answer to your question is no, I don't. It's too big of a space. You answered it for yourself. It's just way, way too big of a volume. That pool is constantly, if you think about it, that pool is constantly evaporating, and it's evaporating in reality at a pretty high rate than you think it does. And not just that evaporating, but that it's coming off constantly at a pretty high volume rate and a high energy level. So that's a really, really hard thing to do as well. What we do today is we use units with some dehumidification functions that are really pretty high end built into them now in pools, for pool rooms. I expected to see that in this building, but they didn't do it that way. That since they didn't do that, if they had done that, that would have made some other options more palatable or easier to do. The way they did it limits what we can do because of the type of equipment they used in the design. I'm trying to say that without saying that the design was odd, but the design was odd.
I think we decided that a long
Yeah.
time ago.
That was a surprise when I looked at it. That would have given us a lot more options if they had chosen a different path. So that's, I didn't evaluate it enough to say that there's not another solution because that is such a big deal, and that's the number one solution I would choose, is to try to try to do something to improve that vapor barrier. The building is old enough. I mean, I don't know what the cost would be. I don't know the timeline. I just know that I just briefly talked to the architect when she described, roughly speaking, what it would mean to do. So I hope my description kind of would give you a feel for how disruptive that would be to the space. So that was just kind of the short run of where I landed. Didn't land where I wanted to, but that's where I landed at.
What would we need to do to be able to come up with a cost estimate to remedy the situation?
Well, we'd have to flesh out the design a little bit, not enough in detail, but just enough to get a good parameters and then to get a number with it. That's moving outside of my expertise. So you'd have to do a little bit of design, and then somebody just have to, given the space and sizes, just somebody in that world put some time to it. I don't think it's a real difficult chore. I don't think it's very time consuming or very difficult. It's just that's getting into a part of the world that I don't work in. I'm in,
Tom said would be an
Engineer.
architectural engineer,
yeah,
yes.
yeah, I'm concerned with things you turn on and off, not the. Yeah, so, but it can be done, and I can talk to the architect I talked to and ask her to give me a rough opinion, and I can pass that on. For her to tell me, I mean, and I'm not committing her to do anything, and I'm not suggesting that you would use her or anything. I'm just saying that I know that she could give me a quick answer on that. So, I mean, I can search that out.
We would like for you to do that, if you wouldn't mind.
Okay.
So the quick fix right now is obviously, and I think it's on the agenda we'll talk about, is to go ahead and fix the piping and equipment, and then we could consider replacing that unit over the other room, and that would be 2 of the action items resolved.
I think so. I'd recommend doing those. I think that you'll see them, I think they're valuable to you, of course, in the building, and they can be done independent of anything else. The amount of disruption is pretty minimal for that work to be done. One last thing that I will mention, which is not in the letter, I purposely didn't mention it, is the architect pointed this out to me, and where the studio is that we talked about replacing the unit on, where that's at on the building, you come out of that room into that corridor space, and in that area there, the building structurally changes. You've got two, maybe three different roofs, heights occurring in there. You got some walls. And she just, as we walked through there, she said, well, part of your problem is going to be that those roof different in heights, and because you got vertical spaces out there, and the way that has to be flashed, again, getting into world, not my world, but she goes, oh yeah, I got to imagine you have leaks there all the time. And,
Well, that's another discussion.
I just thought and her point was that you could have, her main point was that just looking at this, the way it was structured and everything, so that you'd probably have leaks there, and you'd have leaks that you didn't know about, that you wouldn't even know about, and that they would contribute to the problems. So, thought I'd just mention that because it seemed to align with the rest of the thinking and comments. But I can proceed to get this other, get an estimate and a timeframe.
We certainly appreciate your time, and I look forward to getting that information back.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas.
Item number 6, discuss possible recommended council action regarding bids received per PCRC drain replacement project per advisement from TKF Engineering HVAC study from Recreational Repair and Maintenance account number 848455091. Bids received Melton's AC and Appliance Service in the amount of $2,300. Masters Heating Cooling Incorporated in the amount of $7,345. And Vickery Heat and Air in the amount of $9,099. It's been brought to my attention that these bids are just a little bit out of whack, and that we need to rebid this. So I can have a recommendation or a move to reject these bids, then we will allow that process to take place again.
I make a motion that we reject the bids and put out for a rebid.
Okay, motion made by Cantrell,
I'll second.
second by Kemp. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? So moved. And so we'll get these rebid, and then you bring it back to the next council meeting, okay?
Oh, can I say something about that real quick? I was kind of looking at the bids, and one of them just says remodel. Can we get,
So Gary Buffington handled the bid process, and he thought that he set out the same kind of specifications for everybody, but once you get these back and there's such a difference, it doesn't really make sense. So he's going to go out and personally meet with all 3 of them and make sure that they are understanding the specifics of what Thomas is saying needs to be done, and that everybody's bidding the same job and the same work, so that it's apples to apples and not not such a difference. So I'm not sure where the misunderstanding is, but
It was,
obviously.
it was obvious it was obvious that they were not on the same page.
Right.
Although all of them did get the same information.
They did.
Yeah, I was
We
just
took
kind
that
of flipping through
information
there,
from
and
Thomas.
Yeah.
And we did communicate that information to all of
So
them.
I would like to have something that's a little more detailed than,
Agreed. And that's what he's working on. We just didn't have time to get it done
okay, thank you.
by today.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
the items that are listed here on page 2 of his report, which of those paragraphs is what we're talking about on these bids?
Number 2 and number 3, I think.
Number 2 and 3? Okay.
Yes.
And then 3, I'm sorry,
not gotten bids on. 3 will have to, that'll be a separate bid.
and then 4 and 5 is a whole different
Yeah.
beast also? Okay.
And just a reminder, we did budget 50,000 for this project
that.
in the budget, so we got the money.
For the whole,
For the whole thing, because we didn't know at the time what we were looking at, but we have that much to work with for this year. So even if we have to do it in phases, that's what we've got budgeted.
Any further discussion? All right, item number 7, discussion and presentation by Mr. Roy Jackson, Pryor Creek Rec Center member regarding closing the basketball gym one night a week for pickleball. Mr. Jackson?
I'm not sure I'm a rec board member. I think I'm a park board member, but anyway, it's nice to be here with you guys today. Hopefully I can present you all with a good problem, and hopefully you can all help us solve what we're trying to do. But me, along with some of my friends back here, have been starting a pickleball activity at the rec center. And I'd say about 6 months ago, whoops, my knee popped on me, sorry. About 6 months ago, a group of 6 of us got together and just started, with Jessica's help, kind of getting together and getting our pickleball set up. And Jessica was nice enough to put 2 pickleball courts out there and get us some nets. And so we started going after it and started having a really good time and just started inviting more and more friends. And so it has grown a lot. And in fact, this past week, as most of you know, we put a 3rd pickleball court down on the gym floor. I want to thank Jessica for taking care of all of that for us. So we're looking forward to getting 3 courts going on Thursday and seeing how all that works. But we want to grow our sport more. We need to see if we can get involved more Pryor people in this. And if you look around our community, pickleball is growing at a phenomenal rate. I mean, you just see it on YouTube everywhere. I've even seen it on some national channels now. And so it's a really big sport, especially in the retirement communities. But if you look around our area, Claremore is running 4 or 5 courts 3 or 4 days a week and one night. So we've some of us have gone over there and played along with them. It's a great fellowship activity. I mean, we're making a lot of new friends, and some of those friends are starting to come to Pryor. So we've had people from Tulsa and Verdigris and Claremore, Grove, Siloam Springs. I mean, we're starting to bring people in to play with us because we're making friends, and that's great for our community. And so most of our crowd has been the 50 to 60 crowd, maybe some 70-year-olds in there, and we know that there's some younger folks that want to be a part of that. Now, we have tried to include a younger group in on Saturdays, and so Jessica was really good, I guess at the start of the summer. I think we started we called it our beginning pickleball classes on Saturday, and so we wanted to introduce this to anybody that was young at it and wanted to learn how. And so that's what we started doing, and we started having good crowds. In fact, we've had more people show up on Saturdays that are really good players, and so we're trying to figure out how to keep the beginners on one court and keep the advanced players over here so that everybody's playing. And so I think our group has done a good job of being teachable, or teaching people, encouraging people, and trying to grow our sport. We think we could grow the sport better if we had some time in the evenings where we could offer this to people that work, maybe to kids to come in and play and things like that. So that's what the last thing we've been working with Jessica is about how can we find a better space where we can maybe offer this to more people. And so we've thought about doing this on an evening. In fact, that's what we're asking you to do, is take some action to carve out some time for us either on a Monday, Tuesday, or a Thursday evenings so that we can start inviting more people to come and play. We have some people that work during the day that are showing up like at 7:30s on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and they'll play for about an hour, and then they're off to their job. So we are catching a little bit of that younger working crowd early, but not very many. But we think if we had a night that we could do that, we could, especially with these 3 courts that we have now, we think we could improve and get more people in Pryor involved in our sport. With 3 courts that we have out there now, if we can expand, we could have 1 court for a beginning level and 1 for intermediate, and then for those that really want to challenge, we could offer that if we needed to. I think our group is really good about judging the group of people that show up and trying to get them playing people that are the same caliber as they are, so that you don't feel like you're being overwhelmed by Brett Harrison back here, who's just awesome, or they just play with me where I can just barely kind of get it back over and stuff like that. But we do have a lot of range of caliber players, and so, but we're all working together to try to develop whatever range, because the game is just a lot of, it's kind of addictive, to tell you the truth, because 6 months ago I couldn't have told you much about pickleball, but somehow this group of mine got together and decided we were going to do this, and so it started taking off. Laura Holloway tried to start this several years ago at the junior high, and it kind of got going, but then nobody was there to kind of push it. But now with the rec center and with Jessica's support, we've been able to interest a whole lot of people, where I think we can really get this going, and who knows where it could take us in the future. But anyway, that's what our group is here asking you tonight. If I know Jessica's probably got some recommendations for you, but at least to see if we could carve out 2 or 3 hours of time on one of these nights to invite more people to be involved in our pickleball. So that's our request for you all guys tonight.
Okay,
Any questions?
No.
Okay.
Roy.
thank you.
I first of all want to go on the record saying I love pickleball. I wish I didn't have to work Tuesday, Thursday mornings. I would go down and play with them. We've had a great time, and I'm excited about the way it's growing, and have done anything and everything I can to support them, and painting the lines. And we even bought the floor scrubber, which has made a huge difference for them down there playing, and so I will continue to support them. The issue became in asking me as the director of a rec center that has a basketball gym to close that basketball gym at night when I have the majority of my basketball players in there. So I did go back and kind of look at the month of August just so I could kind of come prepared with some numbers for you. And 43% of the people that are in the gym are in the gym between 4 and 7 p.m. And so you're talking on average at a time about 45 people, depending. And I went back and looked kind of on Monday nights at various time of all the kids who are in there, did screenshots of our videos of all the kids who are in there playing. So my issue is, we've got members, pickleball members, and we've got basketball members. And Claremore, I wish we had Claremore's facility, because they not only have the tennis courts that they can put pickleball in, and they can also keep their basketball court going as well. So I wish, ideally, that would be wonderful, and I think if we ever expand, absolutely, we need to consider that. But what we have right now, in the space we have right now, for me to kick out all of these basketball players at their busiest time of the night, that's where I was not going to make that call. That wasn't going to be a call that I made, because I'm the one who hear from the basketball players on a continuous basis about how they feel gypped in the basketball gym. Because we do have so many activities and so many people wanting in there. Boys and Girls Club is in there from 4:45 to 5:30 every Monday, Wednesday, Friday on the back half. Basketball players are all condensed to one half. Tuesday, Miss Jimmy's on the back half from 4 to 8 p.m. All the basketball players are condensed. Thursday night, 5-tool basketball is over there from 4 to 6 p.m. They're condensed. So they have limited time where they can play full court up and down. And so I hear it all the time. I mean, we just had an issue at the basketball tournament, and a lot of basketball players complaining that we don't put them first. So I have to weigh all of my members' needs and wants, And so it's hard for me on a Monday night. Tuesday night's not an option because of Miss Jimmy. Thursday night, 5 Tool's in there. But it's hard for me, like on a Monday night, to say, you know, all of you kids can't come to a community center where you've been playing since we opened the doors in 2007, even though I fully want to support pickleball as well. So I had told them when we originally started talking about evenings, I have no issue closing the curtain and letting them use the one court on the north end. No problem with that at all. We could do that on Monday night. We could do that on Thursday night after 5 Tool. But that restricts them to one court. And with the way pickleball's growing, I know that's not probably enough for them. So my only other solution would maybe be to wait till that 7:30 p.m. timeframe when the kids are kind of moving out, and the gym is pretty free from 7:30 till 9 or 10 o'clock. I know it's late, but that's kind of where I've been and what my suggestions have been. But I want this to be a board decision. I want you all to weigh in heavily on this. But we've got a lot of kids and a lot of members who are using the gym, and so I don't know. It's a hard call to make because you want to support both and you want to do what's right, but I don't know exactly what I know where I stand, but I don't know. That's why we were bringing it to you all, and I told them, let's just go to the board, and that way the decision rests on all of our shoulders, and we can move forward.
Okay. Thank you, Jessica. Do we have any comments or discussion? This is not a voting matter, so it's not on the agenda for us to vote. We can discuss and have comments. So is there any discussion that you guys have?
So are all the pickleboard, are they all members, or do they pay like a walk-in fee when they come?
So if they're not a member, one thing we did to try to increase some revenue is because what was happening is they were going down there on a weight room only membership, which we felt like pickleball was more of an organized class or activity. So we did say in order to play pickleball, you have to have a group fitness membership. And then if you want to just come play pickleball, instead of $2 for the basketball gym, you have to pay $4 pass, just like you would a group fitness class. Okay. So that has helped. That has helped as well. And that's the other issue with all those kids being in there at night. I mean, that's where a lot of our resale value from our merchandise comes from, which, you know, regardless of the money issue, that has to be part of it. But my main issue is you know, just making the decision about the activity that's already in there and how do we work around that.
So are the majority of the pickleball players mainly retired folks?
For now, because of the
Roughly.
times that it's offered.
Except for the Saturday.
Yeah.
Saturday morning, though, and that still is restricted. The families get on doing other things.
So what we have then is the status quo that's always been, it's the young basketball players, and now that's had the majority of the use and the time, but now they're being encroached by the young, or not young, but the new group that's the up and coming thing that they feel the basketball is more of a higher priority and more of a status probably that we've been here a lot longer and basketball is more important than that.
Well, and I think they would share the court with them, but the issue is the courts, it's hard for all the pickleball players, especially if you're going to try to do it at night, which I expect would be very popular. To put all of them on one court is really hard. And so you almost have to have at least 2 courts, and even with 2 courts, you're intruding on the 3 goals that are left for the basketball players, so it's going to kind of be chaotic down there. So I mean, they share, the basketball players share, and that's the issue. They're like, we have to share all the time. We don't ever get to play full court, except on Saturday afternoons and Sundays they do. And there's always pickup games. I mean, there were 85 people in there, I think, this past Sunday. So,
Because pickleball, how many people can play on it at each side? Like 2? I know Shangri-La has it, and the kids love it, and they all play up there.
4 per court.
4 on
If
each.
we had 3, you would have
Okay, and it's pretty tight,
12, yeah.
but it is popular. I mean, I get.
It is very popular. It's a lot of fun.
So, this is my thought on the situation. I think pickleball is great, and it is very popular, and I agree with that. But here's the situation. We have a facility that was built to accommodate basketball and accommodate other things. And we have patrons that want to participate in every single one of those events. And so, in my opinion, we have to try to accommodate everyone that are paying members of this facility, because our ultimate goal is to make sure our patrons are taken care of. Although I would like to have the recreational center that Claremore has, unfortunately we don't. What I would entertain moving forward is we can start thinking about, when we're talking about expansion and maybe doing a bond to expand, that certainly this is something that we would want to do, to put these pickleball courts in and have the space to do it, because we certainly have the space to expand, but we're going to have to entertain probably a bond in the future to make that happen.
And they're in the outdoor plan, outside.
Yes, and they are in the outdoor plan, which you already have in progress, which we're working and moving to get that taken care of as well. But this is my opinion, and the rest of you can weigh in. We hired a director to run this facility. If the director has looked at every single option and made those options, then it's the director's decision. It is not our decision as a board to override her. This is her job. This is what she does. And so if she's made concessions where she can make those concessions, then she's done what she can do. And for us to go behind her and say, no, we want to open this up for a night, is just overriding her. And as a voting member on this board, I'm not going to do that. So that's my opinion. What I would say is that as things continue to change and as we have opportunities available, she can stay in touch with you to see if we can make that happen. But please understand, we're trying to take care of all of our members and trying to make this work for everyone. And that's why we have a director in place to do that. And I would welcome any other comments from any of the board members.
Okay, so just to make sure we're clear, we're not here trying to override her at all. We invited us. She invited us, we're trying to work with her and not against her.
Understood. But as a board, and understood that, but as a board, I don't run the day-to-day operations. They don't run the day-to-day operations. But if she says, hey, this is what I can do, for both of you, if this is what you can do, then I feel that's what you can do. And we can hear it out, but ultimately, it's not really behoove any of us to, what I'd like to do is to expand. If we could expand, we could accommodate everybody, we could add racquetball courts, we could do a lot of different things. And the hope is that we get to do that, but we can't make that decision here tonight.
So we would be open to, with her suggestion, we completely understand this.
Yeah.
We've got people here that basketball was their life at one time also. We
Right.
understand that. At the same time, if 7:30 seems maybe a good option, we would be open
We'll come to 7.
just kind of putting ourselves.
Absolutely.
wherever we could, at least to get started, to give us a start somewhere. We've got to start, that's what we're asking, is to
Well, I
start.
Right.
had offered that in the past, but I was told it was too late. That you kind of wanted like that early prime 6 o'clock.
Well, that would be prime.
I know, it would.
But again, I'm not sure I knew all the stats that you just gave them also.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't realize the kind of traffic that's down there at night and on the weekends. It's kind of crazy. It's great for them, but it's a lot. It's a lot of, and it's their safe place. I feel like that's where my heart's kind of torn, because I feel like we take that away from them on one of the busiest nights of the week. But they are, from every Monday that I've looked at over the past month, they are out of there by 7:30. And with proper notice, I don't mind saying, hey, at 7:30, we are going to close this for a while, and we're going to see how this goes. And they just need to get in and play and get out, and kind of speed up getting out. And I don't have a problem with that. It's just that 6 o'clock time is the issue.
And, in the end, I think just working together and trying to find ways to make it possible. We'd all love to have that, to be able to have that full court that night. Obviously, I'd love to learn to play myself, but unfortunately, the size of the facility and as many people as we have coming to that facility, and we're trying to accommodate everyone, we have to figure out ways to work around each one of those individual events. And, and that's where, in my opinion, and I'm not trying to say you're overriding the board or overriding our director, what I'm saying is, as a board, we have to support the person that's in charge of that, and for whatever decision that Jessica makes going forward and how that schedule and how those events work out, from my perspective, that is her job. That's what she needs to do. And I appreciate you guys invited them, those members here to discuss this, but as far as I'm concerned, that is a role that is your role, is to make those decisions. And if you can accommodate, by all means accommodate, but what I would say, and I'll say it again, on record, we need to find opportunities to look to try to expand that rec center. There's been a lot of conversation about it. Unfortunately, we don't have enough money in our fund to make that happen. We'd have to go after a bond of some sort to try to jumpstart that, to get that facility bigger. And if we could do that, I would entertain that in a heartbeat. And I think that's something that we need to be talking about in the future, because with the growth that we're seeing in Pryor and with all of the cities that you said people are coming here, and it's hypothetical, we get a huge pickleball facility in there along with racquetball and everything else, we could see lots. And I will tell you, while we're on that note, we had the Dam Jam there this weekend, and that was the hub for Dam Jam. There were so many people come through that door that were so impressed with our rec center, impressed with our facility, impressed with Pryor. And they want to have that to be the hub every single year moving forward. They were able to use the showers, they were able to, check out the facilities. A lot of people didn't even know we had that facility. So not only did it promote our rec center in our city, it opened the eyes of those individuals that came to town and said, hey, these guys have got it going on here. And what would be cool is if we could just continue to expand on that and make it even bigger and better, especially with the potential growth that we have coming to this city over the next few years. That's my thought on this. I would ask any one of the other board members to comment on the comment if they'd like. I'm just one person.
No, I get what, both sides are saying, and I know it's popular, like I said, up there at Shangri-La, the kids love it, and my father-in-law plays it, and I'm horrible at it, but, and you got to run a lot, I get tired, but, it is very popular up there, and I know it is here too, I'm sure. But I mean, if you can accommodate the 7:30 and that works, I mean, whatever works, like I said, expanding a bit in the future, it would be nice to make room for those specified things, that way everybody has their own space, because that gym's kind of everything in there. So it is a difficult situation, so I get both sides of it, and I know it's taken off, 6 months ago, you said it started? It was pretty recent, so.
It was February, we ordered all the stuff in January.
But it is very popular. People like it, so.
And Thursday, I wrote down 4 to 6, that it was busy 4 to 6.
It is. So we have 5 tool in there, so it would, anytime during the night, it would have to be after 7:30. I was just saying if they wanted to put the curtain down and do the other half of the one court, they could do that at 6.
So pretty much every night, somebody's in there until 7:30.
Monday night's just super busy, but Monday night is Jimmy, or Boys and Girls puts out at 5:30. The second half would be available. Tuesday night, Miss Jimmy's in there pretty much all night. And then Wednesday night, Friday night are our slowest nights, but I know those times aren't good for, I even tried, when I first got here, before this even took off, I remember we bought it and I tried to kick off pickleball, and Wednesday night was the night we did. And no one showed up, because it's church night and it's a busy night, but it is also the slowest time at the rec center. So a Wednesday night, a little bit earlier than 7:30 might work. But then Thursday night, if you want to do the half court, it would be open at 6.
So it sounds like there is some room then.
Like on Thursday night, but with the way the new courts have lined up now, if you pull the curtain down, you're only able to use one court.
That's the
This
issue.
is the problem.
Yeah, that's the issue.
Are there times available during the day, and do people go out during the day and play
See,
it?
that's what, right now, it's perfect. We all are retired. We're not wanting a night for ourselves. I don't even want to go up there and just help other people learn to play. It's for the people that are working a job and cannot come up there on Tuesday and Thursday morning, because we have excellent, everything's great on Tuesdays and Thursdays for us. And I go to Claremore one day a week. I've said just to play with those folks, get to know them, and some of them come over and reciprocate. But No, the night is just for, you know, people that work and have a job and can't get here any other time. I say it's not for us to be up there playing, it's to give them the opportunity to play.
What about like a Saturday morning?
We have Saturday morning. So we have Tuesday morning they get there about 7, not the whole group, but about 7 to 11 is left open for them on Tuesday, Thursday, and then Saturday morning. And I told them if they want another morning, the gym is slow in the morning, so I don't have an issue with them being in there all the time. It's just the people who work, like myself, can't get in there in the morning.
Well, but
so-
like on Saturdays, they could.
Saturdays, yes.
Yeah.
But that's a busy day for a lot of people.
I know.
And like I said, this is a tough deal.
Yeah, well,
Because it wasn't built for pickleball, but it's the fastest growing sport in America, and I don't think we want to be, and we are in on it, we are, and we're so thankful, we're absolutely thankful. We're just asking for one night, and maybe an hour out of that slice of that, when people normally go home. You know, 7:30, yeah, I'd say, I'm really sitting about in bed, going to bed at 7:30. But anyway, but you know, just, that's all on a trial basis, just a one night, and, you know, 6:30, 7, whatever, and just to see if it go, because there's lots of people that said, we love it, we want to play. I played ball over at Terminal the other day, a guy 83 years old, I mean, him playing right alongside, guys with their grandkids playing alongside, playing with a 75-year-old that will beat your tail if you don't bring it. And it's so, and everybody, it's so much fun. And so that's a deal, and I totally get it. I totally get Jessica. She has been over and backwards for us, and I so much appreciate her. And we're not after her, we're thankful. And it's a tough deal. But but that's the only way we're gonna grow it. If we get people that non-working hours. And I will say this, our group, we checked with Laura Holloway at the schools to see what kind of access we could get at the schools, and that was gonna be extremely challenging to work through.
Yeah, because one of the other issues we have, and I think you've mentioned this before, is a lot of people want to come in and rent the gym, just rent the gym for the whole night, and that's even impossible because we have so many other events that take place, and so this is not something that's new. It's been brought to our attention before that there's a demand. There are teams that want to practice in there. There's a demand for that one gym, which to me just says expand, expand, expand. You know, figure out a way that we can do that. And I know that's not an overnight fix, but in the meantime, we just have to try to figure out a way to accommodate everybody until we can get to that point where we can find opportunity to expand and make it bigger for everyone and have these designated areas so that we can have pickleball, we can have racquetball, we can have basketball, and we have the space. We have the space there.
While there is such a need, it's time to get a bond issue. Really start thinking about
And
what
that's-
people are excited about. Hey, I want to do this and I want to do. When I retired, I joined. I just retired. I go 5 mornings a week to classes, and then I started playing some pickleball. It's been the best thing for me. I mean, I feel stronger. I feel so much better. I've never really been to the rec center because I couldn't, because I worked so late all the time. I didn't go, but it's been honestly a lifesaver for me. So I'd be on your bandwagon of.
Well, and it's really cool that you just said that because this is an opportunity to really discuss that. We haven't never discussed it before. We talked about it a lot. We have funds in our funds that we've been using to try to take care of the issues that you actually heard about tonight with the HVAC system and the roof and all of those things. But that takes a lot of money away from that fund, and there's not enough money in that fund to just say, okay, I want to do a $1.2 million, or, well, it wouldn't be a lot more than $1.2 million. Let's just say $8 million, whatever the case may be, to add on. So that this dialogue and conversation, I would hope, spark and initiate the opportunity to us really start thinking about that because it is such a value to our city and to even Mays County and those surrounding areas. So I think it's something that we really need to talk about and really need to put, surely we passed an $82 million school bond, and this rec center sits almost right in that campus. So, and the school uses it as well, and it's used by the school. So we have the paper here tonight, so maybe we can. Yeah.
I feel better, like, health-wise, but then I've met so many wonderful people in my classes. There's only a couple who are just the sweetest couple. I mean, it's just been, just socially and emotionally, it's great. I'll be on the bandwagon for you.
Well, thank you for that. Maybe we'll hear something on that really soon. Get that straight.
Get started talking about it.
Well, I think I'd have to defer to the mayor, but I think the board, for the most part, I can't speak for them all, but we've had these conversations before, and maybe it's now time to, a lot less talk and a lot more action. It's always been my motto, a lot less talk, a lot more action, so maybe we start discussing that and start working it through and get that to happen. Because I would love to see it. I know that everyone here would love to see it. I'd love to learn to play pickleball when I have time and not have to work, but right now, I think we just have to try to accommodate the best way that we can until we get to that point.
So the rec board, the mayor and council would chart a path forward in that regard. And it would not be void of hearing from citizens and so we do that together.
Yeah. Who knows, we could have 25 courts out there. Somehow, I don't know. We may have to take out the pond and put it on top of the pond. All right, any further discussion?
I, for one, appreciate citizens coming down,
Yes.
taking
Yes.
the time and coming and speaking to the board. This is a public meeting, and your words are recorded. Anybody can go in and they can listen to those words. And so you coming in and speaking, it means a whole lot. It means a whole lot.
So again, thank you guys very much. And
Thank
thank
you
you,
all.
Jessica, for inviting them. If no further discussion, we'll move to item number 8, discussion and possible action regarding amending the 2022-23 Pryor Creek Rec budget to fund the following accounts. Aquatic temp salaries, account number 848465018, in the amount of $48,000.
You guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Swim instructor, aquatic temporary salaries account at number 848465018 in the amount of $48,000. Swim instructors temporary salaries account number 848465019 in the amount of $6,000. And floor staff temp fitness salaries account at number 848485018 in the amount of $35,000. Said funding is a deduction in Pryor Creek Rec Center capital improvements account 848455413 in the total amount of $89,000. This action clears the areas of non-funding the listed accounts without changing the total of the Pryor Creek Rec Center 2022-2023 budget.
Mr. Chairman, the rec center, Jessica and I made an error. We actually made 3 errors. We failed to fund these 3 line items. So when we discovered that was after the budget had been completed, had been approved. So this amendment does not change the bottom line of the budget. It merely takes that $89,000 out of the capital improvements item and takes those funds and funds them in those account numbers. In your packet, if you would look, please, and I apologize, you're probably going to see some of my hen scratch. But if you look at, on that page 102 in your packet that has the numbers on it, that if you look at 848465018, salaries, aquatics, temp lifeguard, we funded that with a grand total of a goose egg, 0. And so we moved $48,000. That's what we anticipate the need to be on that item. The item right below that, 848465019, salaries, aquatics, temp swim instructor. We anticipate that to be around $6,000. So we plugged that number in there. And then the next page, 848485018 under Department 848, which is fitness. we plugged in $35,000, which is what we anticipate need. If you look at the year-to-date actual column, you'll see that we've already spent out of those line items. We've already spent out of those line items, although we did not fund those line items, so that we could keep those expenditures in the lane and take them out of the appropriate accounts. So apologies about that. The request for amendment doesn't change the totals. It just reappropriates monies over to those line items. Do you have any questions for me about that? Come on, Rebecca, I see questions.
I hate picking on you and your budget, but.
Please do.
So why do we need 48,000 for temporary lifeguards?
Because that is what the budgeted amount is that we say, that history tells us that.
So what was it last year?
We
Have any
budgeted
idea?
$48,000 last
48,000.
year. And we actually spent a little bit more than that.
Okay.
But that's an indication that
We need to hire,
there's lots of activity there. There's just lots and lots of activity there.
okay.
It's cheaper to pay out of that temp line than it is to hire employees.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems to work for us, I think.
Yes, and that's where most of our revenue, those are the guards that are guarding your parties and your events and your summer passes. And so, we didn't raise that at all this year. We were just gonna keep it the same and kind of.
Okay.
That through Express?
Yes.
I've got a question. As kind of an oversight to make sure the i's are dotted and t's are crossed on the budget, doesn't the city auditor look over the budget and look for mistakes like that to say?
Our city accountant does, our
Yes.
city auditor does, yes, yes.
And they didn't do any of that before?
We're actually a little bit ahead of them right now.
Okay.
So we,
Well, I meant in the
in the final.
creation of the budget.
In the
when it's
final
presented.
evaluation of the budget, yes, they look at that. And our city accountant he's mainly looking at those bottom line numbers. He's not scrutinizing each item like we do when we build a budget. So that was an error that was made. Apologize about that, but this is the effort to correct it.
So basically, just moving it from that capital outlay, which we put a bunch of that back for the
From the capital improvements.
improvement to do the back, and so we just reappropriated some of that
Right.
out of that.
We had, in the capital improvements item,
$325,000.
$365,000. And
What page is that on?
that's
So-
on page 101.
101 down at the very bottom, 8484555413.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
And
all
then-
this work that we're talking about doing, is that coming out of capital improvements?
No,
No,
that was budgeted.
Okay.
no, repair and maintenance are
Oh, yeah, you said
most of the
50,000.
work
Okay.
that we had talked about doing. Capital improvements, help me, Jessica.
Capital improvements is just phase one of the backyard expansion. So it's the concrete trail, the riffraff areas in the pond, and the new dock, I think is all it is. And so any of that could be, but my thinking originally was, let me apply for the grants first for the trail and then save us some money, so it actually may work out. But I don't know, we weren't sure we were even gonna get to that project this year anyway, so,
But we wanted to fund it.
but we wanted to fund it
We wanted to
ahead
fund
of
it
time,
because
so.
we wanted to keep
What I,
surging forward.
what I didn't want to do was take it out of repair and maintenance, because that's funds that we definitely
Okay.
need to keep.
And then we had discussed that had we decided to move forward with that we were going to reconvene as a board to
Yes.
discuss that
Yep.
moving forward.
Yep.
Any further discussion? Having no more discussion, I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion made by Lamar,
Second.
second by Cantrell. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Item number 9, Director's Report.
Okay. Just run through this real quickly. Okay, they mentioned earlier, but they did show up Friday to get the pickleball lines painted. We had a few issues with some of the tape that was placed on the first, that Kelly put down, the very first one. It was sticking, so they spent like 3.5 hours trying to remove it, and I told them just go ahead and paint the lines, and then Jesse and Rick are gonna work on this week, trying to get the rest of that up. But he did take the floor scrubber to it today, and so the floor looks really good. The pickleball courts look great. They did move the 2 courts on the end inside of the goal, so that was an issue of us having to lower and raise the goal every time to stay out of the way, and now that won't be an issue. So anyway, they're excited about that. It looks really good. If you've noticed, the landscaping at the rec is a disaster right now. During the drought, everything was dried up, and then as soon as it rained, it came out of nowhere, and it's weeds that our mowing guy cannot legally spray himself. So I had First Choice come out, and they hit them today, and then Oklahoma Mowing Company will come back in and dig some of that out and kind of fix it up. I will tell you something we probably are going to have to look at, or you all are going to have to look at next year, is spending a considerable amount of money. He said low end 5,000, upper end 10,000 on redoing those beds, because those beds are very high maintenance bed. The crepe myrtles have not been trimmed, and they're just not they haven't been maintained in years. So the watering system hasn't worked in years. So his suggestion, and we would of course would get bids, but would be to come in and dig a lot of that out, and put down maybe rock, so you're not having the same issues that we're having over and over again in the bed. So, but we will have it looking nice for the fitness court kickoff, so. We did have a water leak. I think I told you about it at the last meeting. Found out that was the sprinkler system. That's been repaired. And we've done a lot of work out on the fitness court. So an update on that. The street department brought in dirt, and 3 or 4 of us laid sod. I even got Steve to help Friday, and we got the sod laid down. It's being watered right now. It looks really good. And so Friday night, the design was sent to me of what the fitness court will look like. So I'm just going to pass that around to both sides so you can see. These were pictures that Jeremy Sheffel, we needed high resolution pictures. So Jeremy Sheffel got us some pictures, and the design team put it together. The inside will have all of the sponsor logos. And so very excited to have that done. So Friday the 23rd, I will work with the street department, and we will get the equipment moved out of the lobby and onto the grounds, placed strategically where they need it. And then they will be here on the 26th to start assembling. And they should take 3 to 4 days, depending on weather. If it drops below 50 degrees, they cannot put the tile. But did you have a question? That looked like a question.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I just thought of this, lighting for that area.
So we need to look at lighting, and we need to look at, one thing I was going to get a bid on the next agenda. We had talked about cameras in the back. I would rather, since we're not starting the backyard project, have them put that camera out front onto that, and look at getting some lighting. So that was my next step that I hope to have to you by the October meeting.
Because I was thinking if that's a court that can be used, that
Yeah.
there may be people come up there in the evening. I can't see anybody there at 12 o'clock in the morning, but you never know.
Never know. But definitely when it starts getting darker earlier, and yeah, would be a space I think they would use. So I have a phone call this week with National Fitness Campaign to schedule the kickoff. But I look for that to be the first couple weeks of October, so I'll let you know. And they will bring press here and media here, and it'll make it a big deal, make it a fun day. So, okay, and then I have my distribution report that I believe you all have, and then Mayor, do you have your financials? You'll see by my report that we were down revenue-wise this month. Our membership stayed the same for the most part, but we did take a month off from swim lessons, which was almost a $2,000 hit there, and the guest passes. And a lot of that is just summer winding down and kids going back to school and not being in there as much. And then, of course, we didn't have quite as many parties, so that's kind of where the difference is. But I think he's got a more detailed report for you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The pages referring to before are the same pages I'm referring to now. Now, if you look at page 98, the balance sheet, don't have a heart attack, because all of the balances that have our reserves, and they have not been transferred over in our system yet. That's the reason why you don't see those balances. However, on page 99, you do see the way money has come in, and some of those numbers will coincide with some of the numbers that Jessica has shared in her pages. And then you see the expense items starting on page 101 and going through page 103. At the bottom of page 103, where you see the net revenue over expenditures, you also see that has not been updated. So when I guess the simple answer is that when we have an end of year and then we have the beginning of the following year, we have to catch up and we have to close out the following year. So all that has to be done appropriately through accounting, and sometimes that takes a while, sometimes it doesn't take as much time. In this case, it's taken a little more time this year. Our city accountant has, although he's wonderful and he works very well with us, we're not the only city he works with, and we've placed quite a bit of pressure on him this year. Anyway, I anticipate that next month's report will be more complete. I'd be very happy to answer any of your questions if you have any about this report.
Do you have any idea what's running through computer tech support?
Please refer to a line item.
848455046.
Computer tech support.
That's our payment to Vermont Systems for the software, so once a year.
One-time deal. Thank you.
That'll be everything that we pay, and I think we shouldn't have much out of that account the rest of the year.
Anything else? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor.
Aquatics report, swim totals for August, we had 14 public and only 3 private. Like I mentioned earlier, Jackie did take the month off. She went on vacation, got to go back home to Pennsylvania for a little while and took a much needed break out of the pool. But she's back in full swing. This week starts private and group lessons. Also today, we had after-school program, the Special Tigers, the swim team, and Ready, Set, Float will be starting. So it was mass chaos when I left, but that's just the way it'll be for the school year. So it's working out really well. And we have another mermaid event, by the way, coming back October 1st. So that's so much fun. They love that. Miscellaneous report. We had 137 new members in August, which is not a lot, but our retention rate was back up over 80%. So that's always what we're shooting for. The basketball tournament was held August 6th, and the money raised went to, since it was the first one in memory of Debbie, the money went to Tony. He was very, very appreciative, and his mom even brought a little, when she picked up the check or the cash, she brought a little gift for everybody. And so as we move forward, like Kelsey has another one scheduled September 24th. Those will be, unless it's the one we do every year in her memory, those will just be fundraisers for the rec center throughout the year as another revenue stream. Kelsey reported that she has her new Zumba instructor that has began, Christina, on Wednesday nights. It's going really well, averaging 8 to 10, so that's a new class and new people that we did not have before. And then she kicked off a September challenge, and she's having the swimmers try to swim the distance of Lake Hudson shoreline. So basically, they have the month of September and October, and they have to average 77 laps a day, which I think is close to 2 miles, right, Tess, a day?
I don't know if I could do
And we actually have people like in it and trying to do it, and so that's why it's a challenge, but it's a lot. So, but there's some of them that are determined to get it. And then, like Houston said, Dam Jam, from everything I've heard, was a great success.
Yeah, it was, there were a lot of good comments, a lot of folks come up, just very happy the fact that we changed it from Whitaker Park to there. It's more open, easy, accessible. Love the fact that they could park in the parking lot at the school, get their bikes right up to the information booth. We did see a few changes we want to make next year, but then also the use of the rec center. I think you gave me some numbers that we used like 66 showers.
60, yeah, 67 showers, I
Yeah,
think.
and we're charging the rec center, or the chamber for those.
Yes, they're
So
paying.
there is a revenue stream. And then just the fact that we have this beautiful facility that most people didn't even know we had, from Tulsa and all across. We had close to 500 riders
Wow.
in the Dam Jam. And Mary, you were there, you've seen all of that. So, please thank I went back in and thanked them, but please send our regards from
Yes,
the
Kelsey
chamber.
and Jess said the riders were very polite and
Yeah.
very complimentary of the facility, and
It was a beautiful day and a beautiful ride, and so I think it was very beneficial for the promotion of our city and our schools, and they got to see the school, and so
Yep,
it was
good.
awesome. So thank you for allowing us at the chamber to have that spot.
The last thing I just wanted to mention briefly, because we have been talking about the credit cards. I just wanted you to know, Rebecca, that I followed up on this. So, in talking to Claremore and some of the different people, especially MUB, and trying to figure out how everybody does this and legally gets away with it. So what MUB is doing is MUB is having their credit card company charge that fee instead of them charging that fee. So I reached out, or had Kim reach out to our credit card company to see if that was an option. And his response was, yes, they have, it's called a surcharge program that passes fees on to the customer. And the way it worked is, he said, we charge the surcharge on top of the original sale in a single transaction. This is all deposited into the merchant's account, and then we debit the merchant's account the amount of the surcharge. So for example, if the surcharge is 3.5% on a $100 sale, we charge the cardholder $103.50. This all gets deposited into the merchant's account, and at the end of the month, we take out the subcharge amount out of gross sales. So basically, the customer is paying most of that credit card fee versus us getting billed for that. So that's an option. I mean, I don't know if you want me to investigate more, but I wanted you to know that's what I had found out.
Thank
So-
you.
Thank you. And what do the other municipalities do?
So this is what MUB does. Claremore charges everyone $5 more if they use a card. So it's just a flat $5 fee for everybody, no matter
And
what.
they're keeping that charge in their, and for their accounting.
Yes,
They're keeping the difference.
they're keeping the difference, yes. But we had talked about that not really being something we felt like we could do. So since this is what MUB was doing,
Well, I think just whatever we can do to offset the 20-something thousand dollars that we spend on credit card charges that was taken out of the rec revenue, if the credit card company wants to charge that and then reimburse us back, I mean,
Yeah,
that way we stay within the.
I'm not
within the-
I'm not totally against it. I just don't want us to do anything
well, we want to do
not
it correctly.
100%
Right.
legal.
We want to do it correctly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think this is something that, I mean, if it's something you all are interested in, I'll keep pursuing it and kind of figure out some more details. It's something that I don't think we would want to throw on our members. It might be a January 1 thing that we start, and that way they have plenty of notice. But one thing, in talking to Kim, one thing we realized where a big difference is, if you'll remember when we were with the old software, the only option was everybody was charged on the 15th, one time. Like there was no other like everybody had, every account, if you came in on the 12th, you had to be prorated 3 days and then charged again on the 15th. So there was one charge. Now, doesn't matter when you come in, so you may be doing the 12th, you may be doing the 27th, you may do on the 8th, and so it's constantly charging, which is a great benefit to the customers that they can set their own date, and we don't have to prorate everything, which is a pain, and we don't have to manually take everything out on the 15th, but that's another reason why there's been an increase. So, but I feel like everybody else is charging to offset that cost, and I don't think we should be opposed to, if we do it the right way. I feel like this might be an option. So with your approval, I'll keep pursuing it and try to have some more information in the next meeting.
I think so.
Absolutely, thank you.
I think think that's it. Do you all have any questions? I know, it's a lot. Poor Walter, he's gonna run before council approves him.
You still want up here?
They're not always this long.
Yeah, they're not. They're not.
All right, thank you, Jessica. Again, thanks to you and your team. We appreciate you guys. Item number 10, unforeseen business. Having none, I'll move to item number 11, adjourn. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Made by Lamar, second by Cantrell. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you guys very much for your service and time.